I was in 6th grade, doodling as usual, when the loudspeaker crackled to life. Lockdown. This is not a drill. The atmosphere shifted instantly. It wasn't like the drills we'd practiced. There was real fear in the air. My teacher rushed to lock the door, and the class fell into an eerie silence. My heart pounded, and whispers filled the room. Then, out of nowhere, the back door of the classroom rattled violently. It was a loud, desperate banging, followed by the sound of someone screaming, "Let me in! Please, let me in!" The voice belonged to a student. Their cries were filled with terror, like they were running for their life. Our teacher hesitated. You're not supposed to open the door during a lockdown, but this kid sounded petrified. Before anyone could stop her, the teacher unlatched the door and yanked the student inside. What followed will haunt me forever. As the door opened, I caught a glimpse of something in the shadows. 2 clowns were sprinting toward us, their faces painted with smeared makeup that was meant to be playful but looked sinister in the dark. Their clothes were filthy, and each held a large knife glinting in the fading daylight. The grins on their faces weren't human. They were twisted with malicious glee. Our teacher slammed the door shut, locking it just in time as they reached the handle. The pounding started again, even harder this time, accompanied by maniacal laughter. The clowns started shouting, taunting us through the door. They banged on the windows, trying to get in, and the laughter, it echoed through the classroom like something out of a nightmare. We huddled under our desks, frozen in fear. The teacher tried to keep us calm, but we could see the panic in her eyes. Minutes felt like hours as the pounding continued. The clowns weren't giving up. Then came the worst sound I'd ever heard. The handle of the door rattling as they tried to force it open. I heard their ragged breathing between bursts of laughter and the slow scrape of metal against the door. I was convinced they were going to break in. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, we heard sirens in the distance. The laughter stopped. There was a moment of silence, then footsteps retreating into the distance. Police arrived shortly after. They found the clowns still lurking near the school and arrested them on the spot. They weren't teenagers pulling a prank. They were adults, armed with real knives, and had planned this. The student who'd been banging on the door, he'd helped them get onto the campus. It wasn't a joke or a prank. It was a calculated attempt to terrorize the school. The student was expelled, and yet the sight of those clowns still lingers in my mind. The way they looked through the window, their twisted grins, and that eerie, bone-chilling laughter, it all haunts me. I can't help but wonder what might have happened if the teacher hadn't locked the door just in time. Even now, almost a decade later, I can't hear the sounds of children laughing without feeling a wave of dread. And whenever I pass by a school, I find myself looking over my shoulder, wondering if they're still out there, waiting for another chance. Some memories are impossible to forget, no matter how much you try. What happened to me one night in the summer of 2016 is something that still haunts my dreams to this day. I was never one to believe in true horror, but that was before I experienced it firsthand. My name's Sarah, and I was 23 years old when I experienced the most terrifying encounter of my life in Greenville County, South Carolina. It was August, and the air was thick with humidity. I had just graduated college and was living with my younger brother, Tom, in a small apartment complex on the outskirts of Greenville. Our parents had moved to Florida for work, leaving us to fend for ourselves. At the time, I was job hunting and Tom was preparing for his senior year of high school. The night it all began was like any other. I remember it clearly, August 20th, 2016. I was taking out the trash around 9:30 p.m. when I heard what sounded like children laughing near the woods behind our complex. It struck me as odd. It was pretty late for kids to be out playing, especially on a school night. Curious and a bit concerned, I walked towards the tree line. "Hello?" I called out. "Is anyone there?" The laughter stopped abruptly, and that's when I felt the first chill of fear run down my spine. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw something that still haunts my nightmares. Standing just inside the tree line was a figure dressed in a clown costume. But this was no party clown. The costume was dirty and ragged, and the moonlight cast eerie shadows across its white face paint. The red nose seemed more like a bloody smear. But it was the eyes that terrified me the most. Cold, predatory, and fixed directly on me. I ran back to our apartment faster than I've ever run in my life. I slammed the door behind me, hands shaking as I fumbled with the lock. But Tom found me leaning against the door, trying to catch my breath. "Sarah? What's wrong?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. I told him what I'd seen, but he was skeptical. "Come on, sis," he said, trying to lighten the mood. "It's probably just some kid playing a prank. You know how bored teenagers get around here." But I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that had settled over me. That night, I double-checked all the locks and slept with the lights on. The next few days were tense. Reports started surfacing on local news and social media about clown sightings in the area. Some people claimed the clowns were trying to lure children into the woods with candy or money. The police were investigating, but many dismissed the sightings as mass hysteria or copycat pranksters. But I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd seen. Was it connected to these other sightings? Was I just paranoid? I started jumping at every sound, and the woods behind our complex, once a place I enjoyed walking through, now seemed menacing and full of shadows. A week passed without incident, and I'd almost convinced myself that it was all in my head. Then came the night that changed everything. It was around 2 a.m. when I woke to the sound of Tom shouting. Heart pounding, I rushed to his room. He was standing by the window, his face pale in the moonlight. "There's someone out there," he whispered, pointing to the parking lot. I moved to the window, and that's when I saw it. The clown, standing under a flickering streetlight, staring directly at our window. In one hand, it held a bunch of colorful balloons. In the other, something that glinted in the light. A knife. My hand shook as I grabbed my phone to call 911. As I dialed, the clown started walking towards our building. Tom quickly locked the window and drew the curtains. We huddled together in the dark, listening intently. For what felt like hours, all I could hear was our ragged breathing and my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. Then we heard it. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on our front door. I clasped my hand over my mouth to stifle a scream. Tom gripped my arm so tight it hurt. We remained frozen, hardly daring to breathe. After what seemed like an eternity, we heard footsteps moving away. The police arrived about 20 minutes later. By then, there was no sign of the clown. But what they found disturbed me more than any ghostly clown could. A small teddy bear with its throat cut open, stuffed with candy sitting on our welcome mat. The officers took our statement and the bear as evidence. They promised to increase patrols in the area, but I could tell they were skeptical. One of them even suggested it might be a prank by someone who knew us. But I knew what I saw. And in the days that followed, similar reports flooded in from across Greenville County and beyond. The clown panic spread across multiple states, leading to arrests and widespread fear. While many sightings were proven to be hoaxes, some, like our encounter, remained unexplained. Tom and I moved out of that apartment as soon as we could. We couldn't bear to stay there, jumping at every sound, peering out windows at every hour. For months afterward, I had nightmares about that clown. Its cold eyes, the glint of the knife, those 3 knocks on the door. The wave of clown sightings eventually died down, but it left a lasting impact on me. I can't look at clowns or circus imagery without feeling a chill run down my spine. I've been through therapy trying to process what happened, but part of me still wonders about the true identity of that midnight stalker. Are they still out there? Was it all an elaborate hoax that went too far? Or was there something more sinister at play? I know that many people dismissed the 2016 clown sightings as a case of mass hysteria, a viral prank that got out of hand. But for those of us who came face to face with something we can't explain, the fear was all too real. To this day, when I hear unexplained laughter at night or see a flash of red and white out of the corner of my eye, I'm transported back to that terrifying summer. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but after what happened to me in the fall of 2016, I feel like I need to share my experience. My name's Mike, and I was 27 years old when I had an encounter that still gives me nightmares to this day. It was early October in Troy, New York. I just moved there for a new job in IT, and I was still getting used to the area. The leaves were changing, and there was a crisp chill in the air that made me think of Halloween. Little did I know that I was about to live through something far scarier than any haunted house could offer. I've always been a runner, and I'd gotten into the habit of taking evening jogs around my neighborhood to de-stress after work. There was a nice trail that skirted the edge of some woods near my apartment complex. Usually it was peaceful, just me, the sound of my feet hitting the ground, and the rustle of leaves in the breeze. It was October 3rd, and I set out for my usual run around 7:30 p.m., just as the sun was setting. It was getting darker earlier, but I knew the trail well by then and wasn't worried. The first half of my run was uneventful. I remember feeling good, my breath steaming in the cool air as I pushed myself up a small hill. As I reached the top of the hill, something caught my eye at the edge of the woods. At first, I thought it was just a weird-shaped tree or maybe some garbage someone had dumped. But as I got closer, I realized it was a person. A person in a clown costume. Now, I'd heard about the clown sightings on the news. It had been happening all over the country that year. People dressed as creepy clowns showing up in weird places, scaring folks. But like most people, I thought it was just a dumb prank that would blow over soon. The clown was just standing there, partially hidden behind a tree. Its costume wasn't like a bright, cheery birthday clown. This thing was dirty, with dark colors that seemed to blend into the shadows. The face paint was smeared, creating a twisted, gruesome smile. And its eyes, God, its eyes were fixed right on me. I slowed down, unsure of what to do. Part of me thought that it must be some teenager playing a joke. So, like an idiot, I called out, "Hey, you okay there?" The clown didn't respond. It just tilted its head slightly, still staring at me. Then, slowly, it raised one hand. It was holding something long and metallic that glinted in the fading light. A knife. That's when I realized this was no joke. I turned and ran faster than I've ever run in my life. I could hear heavy footsteps behind me, twigs snapping and leaves crunching. The sound spurred me on, my heart pounding in my ears. I didn't dare look back, but I could sense the clown getting closer. The trail ahead forked. Left led deeper into the woods, right led back to my neighborhood. In my panic, I went left. Big mistake. The path narrowed and became rougher. Roots and rocks threatened to trip me with every step. Branches whipped at my face as I ran blindly through the growing darkness. All the while, I could hear the clown behind me, its breath ragged but determined. I don't know how long I ran. It felt like hours, but it was probably only minutes. My lungs were burning, and my legs felt like lead. I knew I couldn't keep this pace much longer. Just as I was about to give up hope, I saw lights through the trees. The back of a shopping center, its parking lot a beacon of safety. With a final burst of energy, I broke through the tree line and sprinted across the pavement. Only when I reached the well-lit area near the stores did I dare look back. The woods were dark and still. There was no sign of the clown. Gasping for breath, I stumbled into a convenience store. The clerk looked alarmed at my appearance, sweaty, wild-eyed, with scratches on my face and arms from the branches. Between gulps of air, I managed to tell him what happened. He called the police. When the cops arrived, they searched the area but found nothing. No clown, no footprints, no knife. In the days that followed, I learned that there had been other clown sightings in the area. Some were proven to be hoaxes, others remained unexplained. The shopping center's security cameras hadn't caught anything unusual that night, which only added to the mystery. I moved out of that apartment as soon as my lease allowed. I couldn't stand being anywhere near those woods after that night. For months, I had nightmares about being chased, always hearing those heavy footsteps right behind me. Even now, years later, I can't see a clown without feeling a surge of panic. The sound of snapping twigs in the woods makes my heart race. I tried to rationalize it, to tell myself it was just some sick person taking a prank too far. But deep down, I'm not so sure. So, if you're out for a run or a walk near the woods and you see something that doesn't look quite right, trust your instincts. Run. Run as fast as you can. And hope that whatever's chasing you isn't faster.